Meanwhile, lots of questions coming out about this litigation to Pam Bondi, to Caroline Leavitt, and to Marco Rubio, who was mentioned in that judge's order. And Pam Bondi was out today talking about this.
Our lawyers are working on this. We will answer appropriately. But what I will tell you is this judge has no right to ask those questions. You have one federal judge trying to control foreign policies, trying to control the Alien Enemies Act, which they have no business presiding over. And there are 261 reasons why Americans are safer now. That's because those people are out of this country. The judge had no business, no power to do what he did. And he came in on an emergency basis on a Saturday with very short notice, if any, to our attorney to run in the courtroom. And this has been a pattern with these liberal judges. You just spoke about that. It's been a pattern with what they've been doing. This judge had no right to do that. They're meddling in foreign affairs. They're meddling in our government. And the question should be, why is a judge trying to protect terrorists who have invaded our country over American citizens? TDA is a terrorist organization. They are organized. They have a government structure within them. They are sending money not only throughout this country to each other, but back to Venezuela. They are a terrorist organization, and we are not going to have that in our country. We are going to deport them, and we're going to continue to deport them. We will honor what the court says, but we will appeal, and we will continue to fight terrorists within our country, Will. Not going to stop, and we're going to get them out of here.
Get them out, Pam. Thank you. So that is what is happening. Also got an update, thanks to John over on Locals for flagging this for us, saying that the Court of Appeals has also issued this order, scheduling it for oral argument. So this is going quickly out of the Court of Appeals, District of Columbia, same case, saying that oral arguments are going to be scheduled Monday, March 24th on that. But we're not seeing anything stayed at the moment. So maybe that's in a separate filing. So we don't know if they'll be providing this stuff tomorrow or not. But the Court of Appeals is acting away. So thanks, John, for flagging that for us. Now, we also have more. Rubio got called out by the judge for reposting some posts on this. Rubio's, look how many people we're deporting right now. Look at that. Check it out. They're all coming off the airplane right now. And the judge called him out on this, saying, if you're communicating about these components of the operation, why can't you tell me all of the other components of the operation? And Rubio was talking about this today, posted this on X, says the Trump administration is committed to making America safer. Tren de Aragua is a foreign terrorist organization and one of the most dangerous gangs operating inside the United States. We're thankful for Bukele's support and his collaboration. Here was Rubio calling in.
This is one of the most dangerous groups that's ever been operating inside the United States of America. I designated them terrorists at the president's orders, and we got to get them out of our country. So we are fortunate to have a friend like President Bukele, who, as part of my meeting with him, said we will take them for a fraction of what it costs you guys to house them in your own prisons. Every single person that was on that plane was in the country illegally, one way or the other. So I think it was a great move by the president. I think it was a very helpful thing that El Salvador did for us and President Bukele, and we're grateful to him for it. Frankly, I feel like we should continue to do it.
That's right, Marco. Thank you for that. And we appreciate our friends in El Salvador for helping us solve this, are unfortunately dealing with a similar problem that El Salvador had to deal with, which was a corrupt judiciary, but we're working through it. Now, Trump is getting asked this question over and over again. And there are polls now that show, people don't want Trump or anybody violating court orders, because if that happens, people understand this instinctually, that when the justice system is broken, everything falls. If there is no law and order, there's no justice system. If that is corrupted, then the whole society, people start to lose it. They go, wait a minute, I can't trust the cops. I can't trust the feds. People call the cops all the time. It's a domestic violence. I call the cops. They're going to come help. Cops come. Everybody gets arrested. They go, that was a mistake. Oh, you start to realize that maybe things are not on your side, right? And if you have the credibility of the justice system evaporate, whether it's from the DOJ, FBI, the courts, wherever, it's a big problem for them, because that's all they have is their credibility. They don't have a military like the executive branch or the power of the purse like a congressional branch. It's their legitimacy. And when they undermine it, they're spiting themselves. But Trump is getting asked about this, saying, are you going to violate their order, even if it is an illegal, unlawful order, over an issue over which the court has no jurisdiction even? Are you going to comply, Mr. President?
What would you say to that? Are there circumstances where you would defy a court order?
I think that, number one, nobody's been through more courts than I have. I think nobody knows the courts any better than I have. I would say the chief judge does, but nobody knows them better than I have. And what they've done to me, I've had the worst judges. I've had crooked judges.
True.
I have judges
Ariola
that
Nip.
valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million
Lying Vaughn.
because that benefited his case, because he wanted to see me convicted of something. I have judges that
Nipple judge.
had relatives making millions and millions of dollars
Judge
on the
McCann.
election, ruling on the election.
Going forward,
I had judges
would you
that were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Because that we all know that was
I
outrageous.
never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future.
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges, and these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge. The judge that we're talking about, you look at his other rulings unrelated, but having to do with me, he's a lunatic.
True. I think that is the right political play. No, we would never violate a court order. But when the judge says you got to pay the $2 billion check, bureaucracy, man, it's a lot of work to pay that check. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to write the check. Forgot where the checkbook is over at the Treasury Department. Scott Bessent's like, what'd I do with it? Didn't I give it to you? I gave it back. Oh no, it's check her desk. Go see. Then they finally get it. They're out of checks. Man, you got to reorder a whole new batch of those. Then when the check goes out, forgot to sign it. Hate when that happens. But point is, if they're going to slow roll and drag this crap out in their TROs, you have tactical non-compliance that doesn't cross the line into willful, explicit non-compliance. And you just force the courts to come in and take control of the executive branch. Okay. No, because that's what the judges are doing. Give me this list of information by this date. I want to know, did these people get paid? Okay, here's our spreadsheets. Here's all this stuff. And eventually, I think the Supreme Court, I think, is going to have to come in and settle that down. Now, if John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett want to drag their feet on this and lecture everybody because they want it to go up through the Court of Appeals, through the preliminary injunction phase and all the official procedures, fine. Then we'll get to them, but we don't have to rush any of these reversals in the meantime. And the Supreme Court can settle this down the line. Trump, over compliance. It's tactical compliance. We're complying with everything, but execution of the compliance is just delayed, and it's tactical non-compliance. Okay. So on both ends, you're playing both ends of this. Here is Caroline Levitt. She was asked about this a bunch today, and she's pointing this out exactly, that 67% of injunctions against Trump have come against Trump. And they're coming from Democrats and Republicans too, by the way, Bush judges and more. They're all in on the grift.
67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. Let me say that again. 60% of the injunctions by partisan activists in the judicial branch have come against President Donald Trump.
And 100% of the criminal prosecutions against the president have come against President Trump. Isn't that incredible?
And 92% of those have been from Democrat-appointed judges. This is a clear, concerted effort by leftists who don't like this president and are trying to impose or slow down his agenda.
That's fine. And I know it's very frustrating from our perspective, and I can feel some of the tension out there and some of the comments and some of the after-party conversations. But let us not forget, we still are in control of the White House, and that is winning the game. So they're struggling here and suing to try to trip them up, but there's only so much they're going to be able to do in practical effect. So we're going to continue to cover this. Hopefully the Supreme Court settles it. But Caroline is right. They are activists.
And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench. This judge does not have that authority. It is the opinion of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this in court. And it's very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the president's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats.
Wow.
And he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable. And I would
and he will lecture all of us, as will Democrat operatives, that he's an impartial judge just doing his job, and Trump is the person violating the Constitution. There's no conflict or problem with the fact that his wife loves Democrats and very likely hates Trump. Here was another question that was lobbed to Caroline.
Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the president
Yes.
of the United States. They are trying to clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the president said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts, but it's incredibly apparent that there is a concerted effort by the far left to judge shop, to pick judges who are clearly acting as partisan activists from the bench in an attempt to derail this president's agenda. We will not allow that to happen. And not only are they usurping the will of the president and the chief executive of our country, but they are undermining the will of the American public,
Yes.
tens of millions of Americans who duly elected this president to implement the policies that are coming out of this White House.
And it's a co-equal branch of government. Nobody elected these judges, and what they're trying to do is usurp power away from America.